Out of Bounds, the weekly sports talk show. I'm your host, Carson Williams, alongside Evan O'Brien. We have North sports and NCAA breakdown this week. So starting off, we have baseball. It started out 7th in 6A, and they started out 2-0 with wins against Putnam City before they dropped 2 in a row to Edmond Memorial, and they are currently at 4-3. Pitching has been a very big attribute for them recently. Derek Byer on the mound, just doing a very good job with his pitches. Also, Elliot King the other night, fantastic job for him. Boys soccer, they're ranked 5 in 6A, and they're second in the district at 2-0. Anthony Hernandez, a very, very talented player for the Panthers, was named preseason All-American for the Panthers.
That's a big accomplishment.
It is. Very proud of that. The girls are ranked 13th in 6A at 1-1 with losses at Bishop Kelly, and they also beat Mustang the other night 3-0.
Yeah, Carla Cabello, sophomore, had a hat trick that game. Very impressive, especially for someone that young.
Absolutely. She's going to be a very talented player for the next 3 years. Slow pitch, this is their second year, and they dropped 2 at sophomore and at Westmore, but they're looking to bounce back, hopefully gain some momentum for the rest of the season. Our first topic and only topic this week is NCAA bracket breakdown. We're just going to break down the men's bracket so far. 1 seeds are Kentucky out of the South, Syracuse out of the East, North Carolina out of the Midwest, and Michigan State out of the West. Evan, what does your bracket look like?
Well, I got the usual 1 and 2 seeds winning their first games, just because no team has ever beat a 16 seed, and only 4 teams have ever beat the number 2 seed in the first round. But a couple of my big upsets I have. Wichita State and Virginia Commonwealth, 5-12 matchup, and I've got Virginia Commonwealth upsetting them. And over in the East with Vanderbilt and Harvard, I actually have the Harvard, their first appearance, making a win. I just think that Vanderbilt, coming off of that big win against Kentucky in the SEC championship, I think it's going to get to their head, and they're just not going to play like they did against Kentucky.
Yeah, absolutely. Possible 12-5 upsets, like you said. VCU over Wichita State, also Harvard over Vandy. You also mentioned that. The 8-9 matchups are always tough, because they could be 8 or 9. It's really a toss-up, that kind of close matchup, But I've got 3 out of my 4 8-9 matchups. I've taken the 9 seed, with UConn out of the South upsetting Iowa State, or upsetting, whatever you want to call it. I've got St. Louis beating Memphis in the West. And I've also got Alabama beating Creighton in the Midwest. But my 1-8 that I picked was Kansas State. I think they're a very talented team. Hiccups this season, at OU and at home against Oklahoma. So I think they're a talented team. It's just, if they win that game against Southern Miss, they're going to have to face Syracuse in the third round. So
yeah, and Syracuse just took a big hit losing center Fab Melo to the tournament, ruled ineligible. So I think that really is going to affect Syracuse. And even with that, I had still only picked them to make it to the Sweet 16 against Wisconsin, and had Wisconsin beating them. So I think Syracuse is one of those teams that I think they're really going to miss their big man in the tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. He was their leading rebounder, a big defensive presence for the Orange. So they're just going to have to find somebody else that can do the job. But they still got Chris Joseph and Scoop Jardine that are capable of making buckets and scoring for them. So we're just gonna have to see how it goes.
One of the teams that I had talked about earlier on one of the previous episodes of Out of Bounds, Missouri, got the number 2 seed in the West Conference, and I think they are a Final Four team. In fact, I do have them playing Kentucky in the Final Four, beating teams like Florida and Murray State, and even number 1 seed Michigan State. So I think they're a team to watch out for.
Yeah, Missouri won the Big 12 championship, so they're a very, very talented team. The Big 12 is probably the toughest, if not one of the top toughest teams or conferences in the league. With Kansas, Missouri, Baylor, Iowa State, Kansas State, very talented conference. So Missouri definitely stood their ground in that conference and were able to get a number 2 seed.
Yeah, I think another big disappointment would be the Pac-12 only having 2 teams this year. One of the major conferences, that's a big blow, and they have had pretty much an awful season compared to other conferences like the ACC and even the Big East, who has 9 teams in the tournament.
Yeah, very impressive. My Final Four, Evan, is Kentucky, Syracuse, Kansas and Michigan State. I've got Kansas upsetting North Carolina in the Elite Eight in the Midwest region. I just think that with John Henson, plagued by injuries on and off this season, I definitely think that might hurt them. I think Kansas will take advantage of that.
Yeah, in my Final Four, I have Kentucky and Missouri playing, and Ohio State and Kansas, and I also have Ohio State beating Kansas. And I think that could happen just because I think with Jared Sullinger, I think he's a good guy. He's a good, solid player, great rebounder, and good shot blocker as well. And Kentucky and Missouri, I'm a big Missouri fan, as you probably can tell, but I just think that Kentucky is playing so well, even though they did get that hiccup with Vanderbilt. I think they're just so much more talented than Missouri. And so I've got Kentucky and Ohio State in my Final Four, and probably going to have to go with Kentucky this year. John Calipari, he's been there, hasn't finished before, but I think this group of young guys is the group that he's been looking for. Anthony Davis, best player in the NCAA, hands down.
Absolutely.
#1 pick in this year's draft.
Yeah.
And he's got guys like Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and Terrence Jones, and they're just such a solid team that I don't think anyone could beat them.
Yeah. Also, one team to look out for is Florida State. They're playing very well right now.
Yeah, Florida State, coming in off of those big wins against Duke and North Carolina, gives them a lot of momentum heading into it. And kind of like what I said with Vanderbilt losing, I have them making it to the Sweet 16, but I have them actually getting beat by Ohio State. So I think they'll make a good run in their games they play, but I think once they get to Ohio State, or if they do, I think they'll run out of gas against a team that has such a good post presence.
Yep. So in my Final Four, I've got Kentucky beating Michigan State going to the national championship, and I've also got Kansas going on to the national championship game over a win against Syracuse. I just think that Mello thing is really going to hurt them. It's not going to get them into the national championship. I actually had them winning before Fab Mello got suspended, so I had to go in and change it. So out of Kansas and Kentucky, I'm going to have to take Kentucky. Like you said, they have a very talented group of freshmen. I think that John Calipari is doing a great job coaching, one of the best coaches in the nation. I just think that he always has his young guys prepared.
Yeah. I think they're a really good team. I don't like agreeing with John Calipari. Personally, I think he's a cheater, but I think they're going to win this year. I think he finally gets that ring he's been looking for.
Yep. All right, that about wraps it up for us this week on Out of Bounds. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.